We have this simple user interface that can go fetch data from a remote server that is exposing this data model for all sorts of movies and TV series and whatnot. So we'd like to be able to store some of this information on our own server, on our own local database, right? And let's try out interacting with a Mongodb, which we introduced last lecture. But to be able to interact with this MongoDB, we need to be able to expose it as a RESTful service first, right? So let's see how we can do that. All right, so last time we met, we created this Node.js project, right, that could interact with a local MongoDB database. So let's see if we can work with this Mongo database, this project, so that we can perhaps post some information from our client and post some information that could be stored in our local database. Right, so let's open up that project using our favorite IDE. We'll say open recent, and I believe it's this one. There we go. Looks weird. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, so last time around we were playing around with Mongo and whatnot. Let's comment this out for now. Right, we'll come back to this in a minute. Let's see if we can make sure that this is running. Console log hello. Right, and this is the there's a file called server.js, right, in this directory. So let's navigate there. Perhaps yeah, this is where we are, right? And indeed, this is our server.js. See that? And we can run it. We can say node server.js, and it has hello world. So we are in the correct place, right, in server.js. Excellent. So we need to be able to expose a couple of RESTful services so that we can maybe like a movie, and we need to pass maybe some information about the movie, the title of the movie, maybe the IMDb, and so that we can store it in a database, right? Maybe search to see if the movie's already there, or maybe load it into our own list of favorite movies, something like that, right? All right, so let's see if we can create a little server here that would allow us to expose our data model as a RESTful service. So to do that, we're going to first install a package that is going to allow us to create RESTful services, right? So to do that, we're going to install npm install Express. So Express is one of the most popular Node.js modules, right? Libraries, and it looks like I had already installed it. And so, what it allows us to do is to in just a few lines of code, create a running server that can listen for incoming requests. Okay, so to use it, we can take a look at the documentation. If you navigate to expressjs.com and look at the API reference 4.x, right, it gives you a couple of pointers on how to get started with Express. We can require, meaning import the library, and then we can just initialize it. We can run it. So we can copy that. We can paste it here. Right. Once we have that, we can create a server by just starting by using that app. By using that app we just instantiated and calling on listen, right? And that's going to start an HTTP server that listens at that particular port, right? I'm not going to use 3000 because already our React server is already running on 3000, so I'm going to choose a different port. Right, so I'm going to copy these 3 lines over here. I'm going to paste it. Right, and let's review this. What this is doing is that first it's loading the Express library, it's initializing it, running it. It's a function over here, Express. It's instantiating it, and then what the instantiation returns an app reference that we can then use to create all sorts of HTTP listeners that listen at particular URLs that are going to be coming in through the HTTP request. Yes? Here we're listening to the root URL. If the root URL comes in, it will invoke this function over here. So this function is handling that incoming HTTP request, right? That's mapped to that URL pattern slash, right? The root URL. So basically this is intercepting the incoming HTTP request. It's parsing the HTTP request that comes in, and it passes it to us through this Lambda function. It passes us the request. This request is going to include any headers that come in from the client, a timestamp, the IP address of the server the machine that is hitting us, right? Everything that describes the incoming request, right? Any cookies, anything that comes in from the remote server, the remote machine coming to us running on the server. It also passes to us another object that allows us to respond to the incoming request, right? In this case, we are sending back this static string, right? And with these two functions, the request and the response, allows us to participate in a client-server relationship, right? So whoever sends us a request, we can then calculate, run some algorithm, and then respond dynamically with some response, right? Here we are just responding with hello world. And then we started up the server so that it listens at a particular port. So we're going to choose port number 4000. Everybody good? All right, so excellent. So let's run this. We can say node and run the server. Notice that it's blocked, right? It used to write hello world and then it would just die, right? It would go back to my console. Instead, is now in an infinite loop, listening for at port 4000 forever, right? Until I stop it. It will listen at port 4000 for incoming requests. So let's do that. Let's go to a browser and let's hit that URL. We can say localhost 4000 slash. So notice that it comes back with hello world, right? Whatever that server is told to respond. Not only can we respond with just plain old text, and we can also respond with just with JSON. We can say that the message is some JSON object. All right, so let's try it again. Let's restart the server. And we hit that server again, refresh. Notice that indeed now we're getting a JSON as opposed to just plain old string. Make sense? Right? Excellent. So this is the beginnings of creating a server that listens for incoming requests. Yes?